everyone. Today we have gathered here on the virtual platform of Google Meet for the webinar on Cisco DEVNet Next Gen Automation. The guest speaker of our today's webinar is Mr. Abhinav Bilwankar sir. He is working as a network engineer in Simmons Business Private Limited, Vadodara. So he have enough knowledge to deliver the webinar topic. So without any further delay, I'd like to hand over the session to Abhinav sir, and I would request him to start the webinar. Please, sir.
All right. Thank you ma'am, for the loud introduction. So yeah, this is me, Abhinav Bilwankar, and I working with the Simmons Business Private Limited. As talk about my career, so I have almost 4 to 3 years experience in the Python, in the core Python, as a automation, as a basic Python knowledge, advanced Python knowledge as well. So as far as I know about the Python development in current scenario in the industry now, almost every industries require the Python knowledge. It doesn't matter if you are in the mechanical field, you are in the IT field, or you are in the computer or in your EC, that is electronic communications. You should have a knowledge of the Python in nowadays, because in upcoming era it is a automation era. So if I talk about in particular automation, so today's webinar is all about the network automation specifically. So Cisco, I think so you all of you should have know about the Cisco. If you don't know about the Cisco, so let me tell you what is a Cisco. First of all, the Cisco is basically a firm. Okay, it is a private firm, and it manufacturer of the network devices, the services and all. Okay, so the Cisco also provides their own certifications in the networking, as well as now they have introduced the development track as well. So DevNet is a part of the development, but it is not the part of only the developers. Okay, it is a part of the developer plus the network engineers. It's similar to the term of the DevOps. I think so. Many of you may have heard about the DevOps. Okay, so the what is a DevOps first of all? Okay, so before the going start with the DevNet, to understand what is a DevNet, so first of all we have to understand what is a DevOps first of all. And before going to start with the DevOps, first of all we have to understand the core about the automation term. What is actually the automation term is. So let's start with the automation. Today's agenda is first of all to understand what is the automation. So yeah, basic definition of the automation. Then we'll see what are the tools which we used or the developers use in the automation, or to make the thing automates in simple words. Okay, then we'll understand the DevOps term. So what is a DevOps term, and then what is a DevNet. So from the DevNet we're going to understand what is a network management, how the network infrastructure actually the managed. Okay, so first of all guys, if I talk about my industry or the organization which I worked right now, okay, so we give the support to the US clients, okay, and they are our US client has almost 200,000 2000 plus sites, or you can say the locations. Okay, now how can just imagine how can you manage those all the locations at the same time. Means let's say if I want to check the internet connectivity, okay, in the simple term or in the general term, I want to check the internet, okay, in all the locations at the same time. How can you check that? So basically, my main concern to introduce you about the how can you check the connectivity, or how can you manage this kind of the huge network in a single plane of the glass. Okay, so what is a single pane of glass? Then we'll understand, and then we'll see in the next topics. Okay, so yeah, so we'll see network management in different ways. Okay, so we have a three different ways, okay, which I have given the name. Okay, that is the old school method, advanced method, and then the next gen. Okay, which is today's topic is about. Okay, that is the next gen. Okay, that is the next generation of the automation. Then we'll see centralized network. Okay, so now the centralized network is also the new in the networking era. Okay, in the networking field, the Cisco has introduced new technology, that is the centralized network. So we'll see how actually the centralized network works and how it looks like. Okay. And then APIs. So what is an API? So first of all, API is not a new thing in the developing era. Okay. In the developing environment, it is the old one. Okay. But nowadays API is also used by the network engineers or the front end engineers. Okay. Yeah. So the API is actually the works in the backend. Okay, it is a backend tool. Okay, but yeah, API to to use the API service, you should have a tools. Okay, and that tools known as a developer's tool. Okay, so these all are the topics and the two about the tool, about the services, development tools, technologies, and the protocol. Everything you are going to learn in the DevOps or in the DevNet. Okay, and finally, all of us know about Ansible and the Python. Okay, I think so. You may not know about the Ansible. I think so, but you may know about the Python. Okay, so we'll see what is a Python and what is an Ansible and which one you can use to make your daily task automate. Okay, clear guys. So we can use the Python as well as and the Ansible. Okay, we have two options. Either go with the Python or the Ansible. So which one you have to use? So there is a main question. Okay. So let's begin with the first topic, that is what is automation. Okay. So what is automation? In simple words, automation is used to use by using the latest technology and reducing the human interventions, making things more easier and faster than before. If I talk about in the complex process means, let's pick the example of the software development. Okay, so software development, okay, software testing and the software deployment, it is a very complex process. First of all, okay, because in the software development there is a different team which works. In the software testing, obviously the different team works, and the software deployment there is also different team works. But now the in the era of automation, now all the teams can work together, because earlier the scenario in the in the earlier era is each and every teams. Okay, if I talk about in particular team means in the software development team. Okay, all the teams are dependent on each other, so they cannot do work independently. Okay, so now without without the independence, how can they make the process faster? And there is error prompt as well. Okay, it consumes more human power and you and the time as well. Okay, so that's why the automation now comes. Okay, so now automation has a different types of automation itself. Okay, it not only general automation. No, there are a lot of types of automation is also exist. Okay, so now adopting this automation in our daily process, okay, it makes our tough job easier. Okay, so let's take an example as I already discussed with you, that is a software development. Okay, so the testing software and deploying in production environment using automation tools such as, so we used basically in the automation tools in the software deployment and the software testing. Okay, there are a lot of tools. Okay, but in the industry and in the current scenario, the Jenkins, Kubernetes, Docker, Ansible, these are the some tools which are very used nowadays. So the Jenkins, first of all, the Jenkins, it is a kind of your, it is actually it is a your deployment tool. Okay, testing and deployment tool. Well, first of all, okay, because the Jenkins is your CI/CD tool. That is a continuous integration and continuous deployment. So first of all, you have to understand what is a continuous integration and continuous deployment, or you can say delivery. Okay, so great example to understand this term CI/CD is, let's say we have an update in WhatsApp. Okay, we have a WhatsApp update. Have you ever noticed the update? Why it's every time it's taking an update? Why it's getting an update in WhatsApp? Okay, let's say you have updated the WhatsApp. Okay, in the backend the updating is going on. Okay, still you can use your WhatsApp. Okay, so two different process is going on, but still you can use your WhatsApp. How it's possible without interrupting your work? or your job. How it's possible? So that is all about your automation, Jenkins. So in the backend, your testing, software testing, and deployment is going on every time. Okay, whenever you launch or you release any new feature, okay, in the backend, their team is continuous work using these tools, Jenkins. Okay, but before going to release this particular any feature of the software or any application, it first of all deploy in testing environment, not is released to your working environment, or you can say the in production environment. Okay, it's going to first of all testing environment where it's deploy and it checks everything. Okay, it's going to work or it's not going to work, or it's if it doesn't work, then how what will be the error is. Okay, so everything is going to work. Clear? So this is all about the automation. Okay, and it makes thing more easier and more faster, and the main important thing is it makes your process transparent. Okay, so your client can see your progress, their progress about the project, what their project in which state right now, so they can get each and every time their update, so they are not will be dependent on your reply. Clear? So this is what about the automation actually. Now, what are the tools? Now there are a lot of tools as I already mentioned, but each and every tool has a purpose. Okay, so if I talk about, so first of all we are going to understand how it started, from where it started. Okay, now let's first of all, I want to develop any software or application. What will be my first step? Obviously, first of all, I'm going to develop my code, or I'm going to program my code, right? Yes, but obviously we are human. Okay, we are going to make changes each and every time, right? So now let's say I have developed my one program. Okay, so in my under, okay, I have some features, okay, that I have to deploy in the current software. Now there is another team. Okay, they are also working with the same software or the same project, but they have a different feature. Okay, they are working with a different feature. Now me or my team and my colleagues team wants to collaborate, okay, or to merge the code. How can you do that? Okay, and we have a lot of revisions, and now let's suppose that I want to go in my earlier revisions, means let's say I want to do undo. Okay, how can you do that? Okay, so there is a tool where you can monitor your revisions, how many times you have made changes, what you have made changes, in which line of code you have made changes, and what is that line where you have made changes. Okay, so that tool is your automation tool, and it is known as your version control system, or you can say software control system, where Git is widely used by the programmers. Okay, Git. I think so. You may some of guys you may heard about the Git or GitHub. Okay, so Git and GitHub are totally different thing. Okay, it is not the same thing. Yeah, but GitHub uses the Git protocol. Okay, it is a service. Git is a service which maintains your revisions of your code in the local or in your publicly as well. Okay, in the server. Now over here you can monitor your revisions, okay, which what you have make changes. Okay, let's suppose that I have created, okay, I'm going with one example, okay, of the Git. Let's say I have created one program or any, let's say, folder. Okay, and I have just created one file in that folder. Now if you monitor, you can check that you have created a file with that particular name and the format. You can monitor that. Okay, but before going to monitor, you have to mention in the Git that I would like to monitor particular this file. And then and only you can start your programming and you can start your monitoring as well. Okay. So this is how actually the tools it works. Okay. So in the DevOps or in the DevNet, there is a first step is to understand the Git. That is a version control system. But before going to start with the Git, there is a one more topic, and that topic is your software development, software design. Okay, where you can learn or you can get the knowledge about how actually the software development team works and what is the process going on in the software development. That everything is going to learn in that topics. Okay, now the another is after the creating any program. Okay, there's another, now it's time to deploy the code, right? No, before going to deploy the code is going to check. Okay, it's going to check in the testing team. Okay, so the testing team comes in the picture. Okay, and they test your programs before going to deploy the code. Okay, so over here Jenkins, GitLab, Deploybot, and lot of other programs as well, or the tools are used, okay, by the testing team who can test your program and deploy into your environment as well. Clear? So the Jenkins is your testing tool. You can say the deploy code. They are deploy code to deploy the code. Okay, and the Jenkins is also the CI/CD tool as well. Okay, so as I already mentioned you that software testing team uses some testing tools. Okay, so one of the testing tool is the Selenium and the Cucumber. These two tools are widely used by the developer or by the testing team. Okay, now DevOps. So this all the tools which I have discussed is a part of the DevOps. Okay, so now what is a DevOps actually? So the first of all, DevOps is two different terms. Okay, it is a two different terms which works together. Okay, so first of all, dev plus ops. Okay, so developer plus operations. So obviously, the developer team and the IT operations team work together. Okay, and make software development and deployment process more easier and faster. Okay, so the development part is the part of the developer. Software development part is the developer parts. Okay, and the operation teams handle your deployment. Okay, so if I talk about the deployment, obviously the Jenkins is there, GitLab is there. Okay, but where you can deploy? As I already mentioned you, right? Remember before the starting the session in agenda that before going to launch or to release in the production environment, first of all it's going to release in a testing environment, right? So it's going to release in your any cloud or any container. Okay, so now here the another thing is come, okay, in the picture, and that is over here Docker and Ansible. Okay, sorry, not the Ansible, the Docker. Okay, so Docker is a container, okay, where you can release your code and test your code as well. Okay, so this is a DevOps life cycle, right? So it first of all it started from the code. Okay, so first of all the developers team develop the code or the program. Okay, and using these are the tools, that is a GitLab, where you can monitor your program, the revisions, where whatever you make changes in your program you can monitor or you can make a undo as well. Okay, if suppose that if I would like to go with my the previous code, okay, that actually works better than current revision, okay, that current version. Okay, so how can you go with the previous one? So there is a Git which helps us. Okay, now Jenkins comes here in the picture because of continuous integration and continuous deployment. Okay, so the Jenkins, and to monitor you can use another tool as well. It's a Grafana, Greylog. There are a lot of tools, and the Kubernetes is also over there. Okay, because as I already mentioned you that Docker is over there to release your code. Okay, to deploy your code. Okay, but the Kubernetes and Ansible is to deploy the code and to release the code. Okay, or to deploy any new feature in your server. Okay, so the Kubernetes manage your Dockers, the containers. Okay, clear. So that is all about. Okay, so Ansible, Puppet, and the Chef, these are the three tools, that is your operation tools or the operator tools in the DevOps. Okay, now the part of the now talk about the let's talk about the deployment, where you can deploy. So there are a lot of tech there are a lot of services nowadays. Okay, or the platform you can say. okay, where you can deploy your code. So as I talk about Docker, there is a AWS, that is Amazon Web Services, yes, and Azure as well. Okay, you can deploy your code over there as well in any cloud. Okay, I think so. You may use the one cloud as well from many years. Any one of you know which one? That is a Google Drive. Okay, that is also cloud, right? So, so what is a cloud means? So, but guys, cloud means where you can get your file for in the general terms. Okay, I'm talking about in the general terms. Cloud means where you can deploy your file or upload your file. Okay, and you can manage your file through web. Okay, and anytime you may want to get those files in the local system, you can get that as well. Okay, so there is a cloud. Okay, because a cloud has a different technology. Okay, there is a different technology, you can learn that as well. Okay, because the nowadays industries also wants you should know about the cloud technologies. Okay, and in the cloud technology they usually talk about the AWS or Azure. So when you are looking for the developer, okay, to job for the development job, okay, so you should have a knowledge of these tools. Okay, so in the code you should know about the Git or GitHub. Okay, Jenkins you should know because it is a CI/CD tool. Okay, there is continuous integration, continuous deployment. Okay, through this you can do your current job as well with the application, and the backend development team can release the new version as well. Okay, so you may not have to close the program to update this application. Okay, no, there is a continuous integration and continuous deployment. Now Kubernetes, okay, Ansible you should know, and the Docker or AWS you should know. So these are the tools which you should know. If you know these tools, then you can say then we can say that you know about the DevOps. Okay, so this is a complete package of the DevOps life cycle. So this is how actually it works. Clear? And then finally they release the code. Okay, so how they release the code? So using the CI/CD tool, okay, and the OpenStack tool. Okay, now they again check, test everything is going on well, it's supposed to be or not. Okay, using some tools like say Azure and all. Okay, if suppose if client wants another feature, okay, or suppose that there is an update. Okay, so first of all, so again it's going to start with your coding. Okay, so this is how it actually it works. Okay, so this sign it defines that is continuous working. Okay, there is never end. Clear? Now DevNet, we talk about the DevOps. Okay, so now let's talk about the DevOps. So what is a DevNet? Okay, so again, this is also the feature of the DevOps. Okay, because using these tools which we have learned in the DevOps, these tools will also use in our networking. In networking, okay, how these tools will help us to manage the huge network infrastructure. Okay, so using the DevOps tools. So which tools we are going to learn or we are going to use? GitHub, obviously. Then Jenkins is there, Ansible is there. Okay, then Docker and AWS is there. Okay, so these are the tools which we are going to use in the DevNet or we use in the DevNets. Okay, so DevNet is also the combination of two different terms. Okay, the developer, obviously developer is there, and the networkers. Now over here, not the operation but the networker teams work here with along with the developer team. Okay, so DevNet, who is the DevNet certified? So DevNet certified means that guy have a knowledge of developers and the knowledge of the networking as well. Okay, so DevNet is now in a grooming. Okay, it's now the it's a latest technology, and you have to learn this as well. Okay, because it is a very huge career in this era as well. Because if suppose that any one of you have a interest in the developing, okay, So you can go with the Cisco as well, because Cisco has introduced these developers and the DevNet networkers. Okay, that is the DevNet. So where you also going to learn developers tools. Okay, the DevOps. Yes, you're going to learn the DevOps as well and the networking as well. Okay, same as DevOps. Here the developer team, network team work together. Okay, but over here net developer and the networking team works together to manage a huge network infrastructure. Okay, manage to huge network infrastructure. What does it mean? It means, let's suppose that I have a network. Okay, let's take a example of Reliance. Okay, Reliance very huge company, right? It has a different it has a different location as well. Okay, now let's talk about our Gujarat location. Okay, in Jamnagar, for an example. Okay, so now Jamnagar is also very huge site, right? Very large site they have. Now let's suppose that they have a lot of network devices. Okay, network, if I talk about the network devices, means a Cisco switch, routers, firewall, load balancer. Okay, so these are the devices. Okay, now how can you manage those all devices? Because it is not the part of your daily purpose. Okay, daily task. Okay, because it has a lot of device. It has a lot of devices in the locations. How can you manage that? Hmm? How can you troubleshoot? How can you monitor? Okay, so that's why DevNet comes in the picture. Okay, so with the help of the DevNet technologies, okay, the DevNet tools or the developers tools, you can manage your network infrastructure centrally, as well as you can monitor, live monitor. Okay, 24 by 7, 365 days. You can monitor your nodes. Nodes means your devices. Okay, their health, their connectivity, which services is going on, and if suppose that if you want to deploy any service, you can deploy that as well. Okay, at the same time on every devices with the single click. So that's a very easier job now. All right, so that's why the developers tools are very useful nowadays. Okay, so it helps to manage huge network infrastructure centrally and easier to deploy, manage, and troubleshoot. Okay, using the automation tools. So best part of the DevNet is it reduces human intervention, as we discussed in the definition of the automation. Okay, so if the human interventions lesser, then obviously human errors is going to reduce as well. Okay, so that's why the DevNet is a part of the automation. Okay, and the network management. So through this you can manage your network. Okay, how can you manage those network? Okay, so the network management is used to manage the network infrastructure. Now first of all, going to understand how to manage the network infrastructure. First of all, understand what is the network management is. Okay, so network management is to monitor or to manage the infrastructure, to troubleshoot and to monitor, analysis what's going on, or health and everything you can monitor. So basically it's going to manage. All right, you can manage the node. Okay, so this is a single say for the single device. Okay, I talk about the single device. Now let's take a lot of devices, huge devices. Okay, so how can you do that? Okay, that is not the easier job. Okay, this is a tough job. Okay, but in the old era. Okay, before comes to DevNet in the picture or in the world. Okay, by the Cisco, there are a lot of protocols. Okay, there are protocols which we used in the net or to manage the network. Okay, and application and the software also exist to manage the network infrastructure. Okay, but we are talking about the part of the developer. Okay, so let's suppose that how the developers develop that kind of the softwares, how they develop the software to manage this kind of huge network. Okay, so in the back end they have used some tools and some services. Okay, now as I already mentioned you that protocols is used to manage the network, right? That protocol which is very useful, and that is known as SNMP, that is a simple network management. Okay, this protocol is used to manage the network. Clear? But by latest technology, okay, in the industry, we have reduced the human intervention. Okay, so by reducing the human intervention, we success to reduce the human error as well. Okay, and more important is nowadays you can deploy your network or the node in the network infrastructure very simply, okay, and very easily. How? So it's a kind of a plug and play. Okay, plug and play means just plug the cable and that's it. And at that particular device is going to configure itself. Okay, but not itself. Okay, there is some devices, there is some services, there are some tools which help us, which helps that device to configure. Okay, so obviously there is a part of the automation, and that is a next generation automation. Okay, so, using these tools and the services, we have introduced a centralized network. Means you can deploy any node, any services, any network infrastructure centrally. It doesn't matter where you are, okay, where you are from, okay, and where you are far away from the network, okay. You can deploy the node remotely, okay. So this is what we call the centralized network. Okay, but to manage the network in traditional way, before the centralized network, there is a different way. Okay, to manage the network, that is a CLI. Okay, there is a method, or the you can say the way. Okay, so there are three different methods or the way. Okay, okay, that is the first old school. Another is the advanced, and the third one is the next gen. Okay, so the CLI, that is a old school method. Okay, CLI, which we used in earlier. Okay, nowadays it's also used, but is widely used now in the earlier days. Okay, but in the future it's not going to use anymore. But yeah, some basic services you have to configure. You have to use the CLI only. But yeah, but in the upcoming era, the next gen is the future of the networking. Okay, because the next because the upcoming era is also is only the part is the only the era of the automation. Okay, so CLI, so what is it? CLI means, so we CLI, first of all, it stands for the command line interface. Okay, so obviously command line interface, it's saying itself. Okay, there is a commands. Okay, so obviously there are a lot of commands. Okay, now we are the human, we can understand, okay, that we cannot store all the commands in mind, okay, in our head. Yeah, obviously. So that's why it prompts the errors, okay, and it makes the easier job sometimes tougher. Okay, so that's why we comes with the advanced method. Okay, in the advanced method we not going to use anymore the CLI. Okay, we only use the web page, or you can say the portal. Okay, and that obviously, and that is known as a GUI. Okay, that is a graphical user interface. Okay, that is a graphical user interface. So first one is the CLI, another is the second one is the GUI, and the third one, and that is the advanced, or in the next gen. Okay, so what is the difference between the advanced and the next gen? Okay, so in the advance you there is still some issues. Okay, as the CLI has some issue. Okay, that issue is you cannot remember all the commands. Okay, because there are a lot of commands, so you cannot store all the commands in your head. Okay, so that's why it makes the job tough. Okay, in the advance there is still some issue, and the issue is you can manage a limited number of nodes. Okay, not the learn limited, okay, but the limited only. That's why the next gen comes in the picture, where you can manage all kind of nodes, okay, all types of vendors node. Okay, and doesn't matter how many they are. Okay, different vendor means Cisco, Microtik, any kind of Netgear. Okay, doesn't matter, you can manage those all the devices same time. Okay, doesn't matter which services you are using. Okay, clear. So now the next gen. So what is the next gen? So next gen is this is next gen job is the same job, okay, which we used to do in the GUI or in the CLI, okay, but in the next gen we use is the API, okay. uh, what is the API means? This is a new thing, right? No, this is not the new thing, these are old things, okay. But nowadays the API is in the growing now, okay, because API is widely used than before, okay. Now the if you monitor or if you check in online, okay, and online how many API users right now in 2021, okay, you can check the numbers how they are growing, okay, how they are growing the numbers, okay. You can monitor the growth of the users, the number of the users, okay, because in the automation era developers developing the services and they are using the APIs, okay. So without the API any software any services not going to use, okay, it's not going to work anymore, okay, because the API, you can say the API is the main thing. Without the API you cannot do anything, neither you can do deploy any code or anything. You cannot do anything without the API, okay. So the API is also used before and also used today as well, okay. So what is the API means? So first of all, API, which stands for the application programming interface, okay. So what is the application programming interface means? There is an application which is a program and it's going to work with the two interfaces, means your client and server, okay. Client means yourself or your local system, and the server, okay, where you are going to interact with, okay. Let's take a great example of the API is, I think so. If you noticed, okay, if you go in a restaurant, okay, in the restaurant you give the orders, right? You give the order to the work. You give the order to the waiter, right? What waiter does? So actually, the waiter take your request of your food, your menu, okay, and then it's going to forward to the chef, okay. So chef in the kitchen will work on your request is, okay, which you have make, means your food, okay, and they prepare the food for you and they deliver the food, okay. But who deliver the food? Waiter, right? So the waiter is a part of the API, okay. So the API's work or the API's role is similar to the waiter, okay. So you can say the APIs is the waiter, okay, which API help us to fulfill our request is, okay. Whatever you make a request is on the web, okay. In the backend, that API fulfill the request. Yeah, okay, clear, okay. So to understand the API in different in another way is, okay. You open the you're going to visit on a daily basis, right? The GTU website, right? Have you ever noticed how actually it works in the backend and in a particular time that server is not going to support you as well, right? In the particular, if I talk about in the particular time, and that is the result time, right? It's going to release the result, okay. So servers starts unresponding, okay. It's going to work very wow, weirdly, right? It's take a lot of time to load the web page as well, okay. So that why? Because there are a lot of requests are going on and API not understanding what's going on, and the server is not going to support that number of the requests is, and that's why your server is not responding. So that is why, okay. So the API, it actually works in the backend, okay. Now how actually it works, how the requests are works in the backend, okay. So there are two types of APIs, okay. The first API, which was introduced by the Microsoft, okay, and that API is known as the SOAP API, okay. SOAP, okay. So SOAP is SOAP, okay, and that is simple object access protocol. Okay, it is simple object access protocol API. Okay, which was introduced by Microsoft. Okay, but there is another API as well. Okay, nowadays SOAP is not used widely. Okay, but the another API is used. Okay, and that is a REST API. Okay, so what is a REST API and why nowadays the REST API is widely used? Because the SOAP API has a very huge limitations. Okay, and this limitation is if you request any services or any feature or to make any request is okay, it delivers in the XML format. Okay, so what is an XML? So it is a backend of the HTML. Okay, so actually the XML, it it contains, okay, it delivers your data. Okay, whatever you make request is okay, your request comes in the XML format. Okay, that is a data format. It's known as a data format. It is extensible markup language. Okay, it is a markup language and it works in the backend. Okay, whatever you make changes, okay, your request comes in the in particular service in the data formats. Okay, it doesn't matter whatever you may see in the front end. Okay, means in web portal. Okay, it doesn't matter, but it's matter in backend. What is going on in the backend? Whatever you make changes. Let's suppose that you request for the www.fb.com, right? But what's going on in the backend? Okay, whatever you make a request in the backend, your request fulfill in which data format. Okay, so you may see the the portal of the Facebook page. Okay, you see the Facebook page login page. Okay, but in the backend, if you check in the backend, you may see the JSON, XML, and the YAML data formats. Okay, I'm talking about that data formats. Okay, I'm not talking about your GUI web page. Okay, login page. No, I'm talking about the backend. Okay, so the REST, and that is another is REST API, and that is re representational state transfer API. Okay, and it is widely used. Okay, and this REST API works with the HTTP or HTTPS. Okay, yes, our website. Yeah, so in the backend that REST API works. Okay, clear. So many services, Cisco services uses REST API. Okay, so now I have created some animation to understand more easier how actually the request is works in the backend. Okay, so suppose that you have make some request, your HTTP request is okay. So HTTP request is comes backend in the picture. So in the backend REST API is come. Okay, so this is the request. Okay, it's going towards the server. Okay, so now the server is going to respond to your request. Okay, whatever is the response from the server you may see in your desktop as well. Okay, so now let's suppose that you have opened the www.fb.com. Okay, you requested for the www.fb.com. Okay, now server will start searching about the domain about the .com and fb and all. Okay, now if the server success to understand your request, okay, then it's going to respond you. Okay, it doesn't matter if the server is success or not. Okay, but if there is success, okay, you can see the response in your desktop. But if you see in the backend, you can see your response code as well. Okay, so response code. Okay, and there is a one response code and which is very famous. Okay, and it is a, you may also heard, that is a 404 404. Can you tell me anyone guys what is a 404 error means? What is stands for and what actually it means? You may see the page not found, right? In the 404.
Server found.
Okay, so what is a 404 error means? So 404 means page not found is not, it is a wrong term. Okay, it is actually the message to the user. Okay, so they can understand. But 404 means whatever you make changes, okay, server has no data for that. Okay, whatever you are requesting for. Okay, so this is how actually what help us. Okay, so the API help us to bring our data or to get our data from the server and to fulfill our requests. Okay, now the centralized network. Okay, so what is a centralized network means? So centralized network means where you can manage your node or network centrally using the particular device, and that device is known as the controller. Control is defining itself. Okay, controller which control your devices. Yeah, but that controller uses this kind of APIs. Okay, because the controller works with the GUI and the web portal. Okay, but in the back end we have to create the software or the application. So using these technologies and the tools you can do that. Clear? So this is all about the centralized network API, HTTP response code or HTTP request is 404. Okay, centralized network, yes, obviously. Now, the best part of this webinar is the Python versus Ansible. Okay, these two are the programming. Okay, but the Ansible is your infrastructure as a code tool. Okay, which is a part of your DevOps tool. Okay, if you see in the DevOps lifecycle, you may see over here in the operator. Okay, in the operate. So this is the operator tool. Okay, Ansible. But the thing is, now the question is which we can use, which we can use to make the thing automate. Either go with the Python or the Ansible. Which one is more preferable? Okay, there is the main question. Okay, so Python you can use, either you can Ansible also use, but Python. Okay, in the Python the best part of the Python is there are a lot of libraries available globally. Okay, you can use that. Okay, so you don't have to create any application from the scratch. No, you have to start working with the particular library and there you go. Okay, so it reduces your time, your error as well, everything. Okay, and great support from the Python community. Okay, so I am also the Python community member. Okay, the developers, Python developers community member is also. Okay, so yeah, I work with the Python communities. Okay, as a part of the community member and the developers member of the Python. Okay, and the Ansible. So if I talk about the Ansible, you have to start working from the scratch. Okay, but yeah, there are a lot of templates are available for the Ansible as well. Okay, but the limitations is for the Ansible, you have to understand the first of all Linux. Okay, Linux commands and all. Best part of the Python is you can use the Python in the in all the desktop or in all the operating system, but you cannot use Ansible in the Windows operating system. Okay, you have to install Linux in VMware or in a virtual machine, or you should have Linux, and then you can use the Ansible. Otherwise, you cannot use the Ansible. Okay, so that is a limitation in Ansible, but there is no limitation in the Python. But there is one more limitation in the Python is you cannot develop an application for your mobile. Okay, so yeah, that is a limitation in the Python. Okay, thank you. So I am done over here, ma'am. If you have any queries, so you can reach out to my email address or my this contact number as well.
Yes, sir, definitely. I'll tell students to contact you if they have any queries. So we will conclude the session here. I would like to thank our HOD ma'am, Mrs. Poonam Faldu, and I'd like to thank the head of our institute, Jatin Vaidya sir, for giving us the opportunity to conduct the webinar. And lastly, thank you so much, Abhinav sir, for giving us your valuable time and giving us
Yes.
so much knowledge.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, sir, again.
Yes. And one more thing I want to share with you.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
as a ex-student of the Bharatiya Graduate.
Okay, so you're our alumni.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, so that's great. That's great. So thank you so much, sir, for your time, and we look
Yeah.
forward to more webinars like this.
Yes, ma'am. I'm waiting.
Yes,
Thank you, guys.
yes, sir. Thank you.
Have a nice,
Yes, thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Have a nice day, sir.
have a nice day, you two guys. All the best.
Yes. Yes.